The game of the week comes from a game that was played at a chess team tournament a couple of years ago. Madison is black, and the opponent is on the white. And what I'm going to try to do is point out three places on each side where there was a critical point in the game that changed the way the game ended, or the result of the game. And just by going over the opening, both sides did a pretty good job opening, and I'm going to assume that both sides have been playing chess for a couple of years, because the way they develop the pieces and move the pieces off the back rank is typical of pretty good chess players, so great job. Black does something here that I question a little bit. Black develops the knight, if you want to call it development, into the middle of the board. I prefer to have my chess players wait a few more moves before they start moving pieces for the second time. Maybe the king could castle here, maybe move the other pawn up a square so that the bishop could get out. And as a general rule for chess, when you're in the opening, the first few moves of the game, it's probably best not to move the same piece twice, unless if you absolutely have to. If you look at the mentor lines, white is ahead positionally, not by a whole lot. I mean, it's not a move that really does damage to black, but I would have waited on black. We have a couple of moves here, a couple more good developmental moves. And if there's any moves that you want to look at again, you're more than welcome to freeze this video, take a look at the position, take a look at the mentor lines, which gives the hints for the top 5 moves that could be made. You could plug these moves from the game status window, which is up in the upper right, and put them into your own computer and run through some different moves and see what some different things could be done in a certain position if you want to, but I've just picked a couple of moves that I think are critical. And this is one of the critical positions of this game right here. If you look at the mentor lines, white has only one move that will keep the advantage. All of the other moves that white makes will give black the advantage. And so you'll get to a point in a chess game where the move that you make is really going to change the way the game finishes, the way the game ends. And you can see that the number one move is moving knight to d5. So here's the knight right here. It's this knight, moving knight to d5 right here. I'm not a great chess player, so I'm not really sure why that's a great move. Maybe as I become a better chess player and a better chess teacher, I will understand. But the other 4 moves, really give black an advantage. But if you look at the game status window on the right, you'll see that the 8th move from white is bishop to d5. And bishop to d5 isn't even on the mentor line. So it's an even less than top 5 move. And the reason why it's a poor move, and we moved right here, it's what I call in chess a Barney move. And a Barney move is a move that really doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't develop any pieces. It doesn't put any pressure on the opponent. And it's just kind of a waste of time, and it kind of gives the other side an advantage. The white bishop wasn't in a very good spot when it was here on c4, but by putting it on d5, it's still not very strong, and well, this knight here is being pinned, so it's not under attack. But as soon as the black queen moves, then this piece is vulnerable to an attack from the other side. And you can see now that the score is now -1, which means that black is ahead by the equivalent of 1 point. The number 1 move for black is bishop takes c3. So here's the bishop on c3 right here. Or bishop take f3. They have an equal score. And what black does is it takes the knight on the opposite side. And oh yeah, this is pretty interesting. I can see why black did that. Because if by taking this piece right here, the queen cannot recapture because the black knight is protecting the f3 square. So white really doesn't have much of a choice than to take that piece with its g-pawn. which really leaves white in an awkward position here. The king is not very safe because this whole area is opened up. And you'll see in this game that black takes advantage of this weakness on the black side and brings pieces in and totally pulverizes this area and wins on a checkmate by taking advantage of that side. So we're going to go ahead and black moves over there. The score goes down a little bit, but that's not what I'm going to analyze because black actually does what's pretty good eventually. That was a weak move right there by white, and we're going to analyze that one. What white wants to do is white doesn't like this attack right here that the bishop has on the knight. And what they do is they move the pawn up to a3, putting a tempo on the black bishop, and the black could either retreat or take, but you can see that move isn't one of the top 5 moves that are on the board right here. The best move is actually king to g2. And the reason why that is a good move is that the king is protecting this h3 square from having the queen go to it. Because if the queen can get here onto h3, she's infiltrated what used to be a little box of protection here against the king. And if black brings their knight right here, all black would have to do is just bring the queen right here, and it would be a checkmate in 3 moves. And so it's a very dangerous position here for white. Anytime you can get your opponent to break up this little block of knight and 3 pawns, that's a little fortress protecting the king, you've got a good advantage and a good chance at making some really awesome attacks. So white moves a pawn up here, and black does a really good move. We always talk about what's the threat. And the threat is that the black bishop could be taken. And a lot of times, one of the last things that you want to do in a chess game is flee from the attack. I have what I call the ABCs of chess. A stands for attack, B stands for block, C stands for capture, D stands for defend, E stands for, I'll tell you in a little bit because I don't want to take any time thinking of it, exchange, and then F stands for flee. And so in this position, black, rather than trying to run away from the white pawn, which is letter F, flee, black is looking for an attack which is even stronger than this attack right here. And black actually found it, which is queen to h3. And the reason why that attack is stronger is that black can move the black knight to f3, putting the king in check. Since this square is protected by the queen, the white king would have to move to h2, and then the black queen would move to h2, creating a checkmate, and the game would be over. And so now white really can't afford to take this piece over here, although you can see it is the #1 move. But white's going to have to be careful because black can just jump on in and win the game very shortly. Again, I'm not going to go into a whole lot of details, but you can look at the mentor lines to see some of the things that are about to happen. And here we are with our little checkmating pattern, and you can see that white only has 2 moves that it can make. It can either capture the knight with the queen, but they're going to lose their queen and black will earn a scalp, or if the white king moves to h2, then the game is over immediately. So white has no choice but to take the black knight, to which black now takes the queen, and black has just earned a scalp.